Well, hey, diet disruptors, Carrie here. And this week, I am so excited to introduce you to a woman who is just super boss mom, boss lady in her own right, but also, you know what? This is what I like to say. She finally started listening to me and she's got something to say about it. Do I get to say, like, I told you so?
Well,
Let me introduce, this is Lauren. I've known Lauren for actually a long time now. And Lauren is exactly the type of person who is like my ideal client in so many ways. She already eats really healthy. She's got really strong mindsets. She knows her body, and yet she was still struggling. And she kind of had thought she had done it all and didn't really have any room for what we taught, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, Lauren, you have been doing this lifestyle for a little while now. And we had a conversation yesterday where I was like, we need to get on this and record this for people.
yes. So thank you so much for having me and
Yay!
sharing my story. So a little bit about me. I'm about 5 feet tall. So whatever I eat, you can see it. So I always struggled with a 5 pound. There was always a 5 pound something hanging over my head. And I just, all of my life, I always had stomach issues. And so I never went to doctors. I wanted to solve things myself. So I've, independently, tried all different kinds of things. And so it was really last summer, I believe, when it came to a head where I was so sick all the time. And I remember calling you up crying and saying, I don't even know what to do. I just feel so sick all the time. And your energy was so contagious that I knew that if I stuck by you and just, reached out to you, that I knew somehow following your lead, at some point I would get to my destination at my time.
Yeah, and you know what? It was so interesting because you saw me and found me all, on online and then called me and you were like, I need to talk to you. I mean, you were like relentless. I need to talk to you.
I literally stalked you.
Yep.
I saw you and I wanted to know who you were and what you were about. And then I did a lot of research and I trolled for a while looking at what you were doing and how you were doing it and tried to sort of Mickey Mouse it myself to try to figure it out.
Yeah, for over a year.
For over a year. And
Yeah.
I think, you had given me the benefit of the doubt that I knew what I was doing and, basically said, hey, I know you eat well. I know you exercise. So you do what you do. But then I just started blowing up.
Yeah. And it's so funny. You talk about the 5 pounds and we always talk about the scale and things like that. And it wasn't even about that. Like, your body so well. And what was happening was actually your body going into like this mode of stress and just doing things to communicate to you that what you're doing isn't working for us. Right. But you couldn't figure it out because you were eating healthy. You were exercising, your mindsets were strong, like all the things that we were talking about. And in my head, I'm like, there's just this little tweak I'd like you to make. And then you were kind of trying to piece it together. You have our recipe subscription and you were trying to figure it out.
Exactly. And I think the piece of it is the fact that I thought I knew what food was, and I didn't really know what a protein, fat, and a carb was. And I think that we take for granted that you think a potato is a carb and you think a fruit is its own category. You don't realize that, I was overdoing my carbs. I figured if I was gluten-free, dairy-free, and I ate that healthy food and I could eat it as much as I wanted, not realizing that that wasn't good for me either. And then I had just said, well, you know what, I'm getting into my late 40s and maybe this is just not, I'm supposed to be putting the weight on and I just have to accept it, give myself grace and get over myself. And I just was getting to the point where my wedding ring wasn't fitting me anymore. I was like coming out of my bras. My stomach was hanging over my pants and that was never what I was. And I was like, all right, I guess I'm premenopausal and this is what I'm turning into. And I just have to get over myself because I'm not 20 anymore.
Yeah. And I mean, you look like you're in your 20s, girl.
Well, thank
look
you.
At you.
Thank you.
And that has a lot to do with the fact that you have eaten a healthy, like non-toxic lifestyle for so long, but at the same time, you knew that there was something not right. And I always talk about the fact that we're on this age train, but we don't have to speed it up. And you were essentially, without even knowing it, speeding that age train up, sabotaging your goals, and didn't even know it. So let's talk about kind of what you have realized in your journey now, because one of the first things you said to me when we talked was like, this is a game changer. So talk about that.
It's a game changer in the fact that, we do this this wellness program, right? And you want to get rid of the inflammatory foods and things like that. And so you really, think to yourself, oh, I have to be contained. I have to be at my house. I have to make my own food, because if I go out to eat, then I'm going to sabotage the entire process. But ironically, I started this program the week I went on vacation with my husband. And I said, do we really have to go away now? I'm starting my program. And he said, well, yeah, we do. And so ironically, I was able to find exactly what I needed to find. I mean, the first day we went out to a seafood place, and I went and I had lobster, and then I had a side of zucchini. And so like that meal in itself was a PFC. And I thought, I put it on a smaller plate, and I wasn't drinking wine like I normally drink, which that for me was a little bit more difficult since it's summertime.
Yeah.
But in any event, I didn't feel like I was deprived. I was satiated.
Right.
I felt good that I was able to go out to eat. We had a nice dinner. And I was away literally that whole week. We were in Maine, and then we were in New Hampshire. And I was still able to stay on the program. It actually was so much easier.
Which you've never actually, you said to me, you've never really been able to do before. So no, full disclosure, Lauren has done, like, she really does eat healthy and clean the majority of the time. She's done the Arbonne healthy living 30 days to healthy living program multiple times and tries to live that as much as she can. But what you said to me yesterday was so interesting, because you're like, I always try to eat healthy, but if I didn't eat healthy, there was like, it was bad, it was off, it was wrong. And the fact is, there's a whole litany in between that. And what you realized was like, yes, healthy is one thing, but the concept of eating correctly opens your world to so many more options where you're not on or off something. And what you just kept saying, this is so much more sustainable.
You know what it is? I think it's, and I know that people talk about it, you almost look like you're someone looking behind, like through the window at somebody else doing something.
Yeah.
You see it happening, you see it happening to them, but you don't feel like you can get through that. And you just feel like you don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
Some people have it and some people don't.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't that I'm eating that much. I'm not eating differently. I'm eating in proper proportions and balanced. And that's
correctly.
And so I think that for me, it's, I'm not hungry. Or when I am hungry, I know it's 2.5 to 3 hours and I'm ready for my next meal.
So for someone that knew her body so well, in all reality, you weren't fueling it quite correctly. And so the signals your body was giving you was like throwing everything off, because your blood sugar wasn't stabilized. And you knew, like, and even like saying that you're not doing wine, like that's only for a few weeks to really detox, but you know how to have wine now when you want to integrate that in. And we all know that I love wine. So, but I also just love the fact that as you're talking, it's just a realization that you didn't know as much about food as you thought you did.
I thought I exhausted everything. I really did. I mean, I was doing MyFitnessPal and I was putting in the calories. That lasted about a week and a half.
Do you have to do that anymore?
No, I don't even touch it. I don't even touch it. I mean, I find that right now it's almost getting to the point of being mindless.
Yeah. So to me, it's like a language. At first, you have to learn a new language, right? But then eventually you just become fluent in it and you don't even have to think about it anymore.
I find it's much easier for me to function during the day doing this, because I'm not wondering what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
I'd wake up in the morning and I'd have a shake. and then I wouldn't eat the whole day, and I'd come home and I was a ravenous
Yep.
human, and I'm just, dinner were big dinners, and I'm blowing up, and I'm saying to myself, I'm not even having as many calories as I need a day. Like, I don't understand why my body is blowing up. Like, this doesn't even add up. It doesn't add up.
But now it does, right?
And now it does. I just thought it was like, okay, I'm premenopausal, so I'll never be what I'm supposed to be, and get over yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But so I'm about 2 weeks, 2 weeks in, and my mind is even clear. Like, the fog is gone. I do have more energy now. It typically takes me about 2 weeks with any of, these programs.
Cleanse or whatever kind of thing.
Detox. But I woke up today, and today's actually typically the time of month where I would feel my worst, because it's usually our worst.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the first time my family didn't even know. They were like, you haven't even yelled at us. And gotten moody. And
those are like such non-scale victories, right? Like, we talk about those all the time. When we're getting to our optimal health, our body responds. Like you even said, like, your clothes are fitting better, like you're moving towards your goal. You've lost, like, I don't know, what is it, 7 pounds?
7.5. Like, this ring here, this was leaving imprints, but I couldn't even get it off. This ring here, my finger was swelling in between.
So that is what I'm talking about. So the weight loss is a byproduct of you moving towards your optimal health, as opposed to a diet where you're starving yourself and actually getting yourself unhealthier, because then you'll end up gaining all the weight back. But you are literally reformatting your body to what I like to say, its factory settings, to where it wants to be. So what are the things that you're noticing even beyond that? Like the stuff we talked about a year ago, and how upset you were about where you were in your health. Like, just a few weeks in, where are you now?
I just feel like I'm so much more in control of my destiny. I was feeling crazy in my brain. My brain was crazy. My brain was frustrated. And I was so annoyed, because I'm the personality where it's like, if you have a problem, there's a solution. May not be an easy solution, and so I'm the person, I'm willing to put in the work. I'm willing to follow a plan, but it's got to feel right. It's got to be natural. It's got to be something sustainable. It's got to be something I can do on the fly, something where I don't feel like I'm abusing myself, where if I decide that I want to have a dessert, that it's a punishment. No, how about this? How about, like, I am doing well all around, and I want this. You have it, you're done, and you press on. It's not like it's this big decision where you have to sit and go, oh, then I'm going to be totally, it's not even about that. It's about just, it gives you the freedom to live. I mean, it's really mind blowing, frankly. I mean, it really is. Because it's just PFCs every 3. That's plain and simple. I mean, I know you say it and it's this mantra, but, like, for example, yesterday I was at a friend's house, and I went there and I was really hungry because I was at the 3.5-hour mark. So I raided the refrigerator, and I was like, all right, so there's shredded chicken with barbecue sauce, which for right now, barbecue sauce is, not high on the list.
Yeah.
But then there was cauliflower with a little buffalo sauce, which is not typically on the list. So instead of me going bananas and saying, oh my gosh, I'm totally not following the program, I just did what was in front of me. I ate what was there. I didn't feel bad about it. I was happy that I was able to just eat every 3.
It's so nice, right?
And so I did as much as I could, but I did notice that I was hungrier 2 hours later after that.
Because you didn't have quite enough carbs, I think, right?
I didn't have quite enough of that balance. So it was fantastic that my body was like, all right, so you went off a little bit, no big deal, but you're going to be hungrier because you didn't give it exactly what it needed. So it's like I'm actually introducing myself to myself again, and we're making friends.
I mean, literally, my whole goal is that you can see your body as your best friend instead of your enemy, because your body's been trying to be your best friend. It's just that you haven't been able to like get on the same wavelength about what you each need. And Coach Deb always says that this is like speaking your body's love language. Wouldn't you say?
I couldn't agree more. And I'm just relieved. I'm just relieved because I thought I tried everything. I thought I did everything, and I didn't do this. I thought I was doing it, but I wasn't doing it properly.
That's what I want to talk to you about, because, we have been in communication about this for a long time, and you are in our recipe subscription too. So it's not like you don't have access to some of this information. But the bottom line is it's simple, but it's nuanced. And some people are like, well, why don't you just tell us what it is? Because while this is what everybody needs, we need you in it, so that then we can really start to tweak it and troubleshoot it and see where your total balance is. And once you find it, it's like your body starts singing. And so for so long, you were literally, like you said, Mickey Mousing it together.
I think the difference is that you dip your toe in the water. You dip your toe in the water and you're like waist up, but you're not fully entrenched in it.
Mm-hmm.
So until you just allow yourself to just start all over and say, you know what, I don't know anything. Let me just learn it. Let me just start all over. And so basically that's what I did. I said, let's just shed everything. Let's give like this was going to be my last go.
Right.
Like this is going to be my last round of, I've tried everything. I do have to say that I did not expect it to go as well as it's going. I really was like, kind of like, all right, if you think this is how you do it, like, I'll just roll with it.
And you could be like, Carrie, I tried it. It didn't work.
I tried it and it works for you, but I'm not you.
Yeah.
But this is just a game changer. It's definitely changed my life. And I know that this is totally a lifestyle that I will be able to sustain. And I think it's actually easier for me to function in this, because it's really just, taking your protein and working around that. Because the biggest stress was, you start with a carb. If you're doing a sandwich, you're starting with the bread first,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then you're doing the condiments, and then you figure out, what's left for the protein first. You don't really, the switch is, your protein's the focus, and then everything works around that.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds so basic, but it does change how your body responds to what you're putting in it. Because the other day we brought friends pastries and cookies, hot cookies, chocolate chip and chocolate M&M. And when I tell you, normally I would be head first in the box and there would be maybe half a cookie left. I had a cup of decaf coffee with almond milk. And they're like, do you want any of it? I'm like, no. They're like, are you sure? I said, like, I'm not even craving it. I'm not even fighting with myself about putting my hands in the box. I don't want it.
That is after a few weeks of you balancing your blood sugar. This now becomes a choice that you intentionally get to make when you decide to have that, as opposed to your body feeling like it's a magnet being drawn to it and you have absolutely no control over it. You now have that control.
It's like a drug. It's like your program that you have dinner, and then after dinner, you then crave something sweet. And so for me, sugar, chocolate, forget about it. A dessert, that was part of the equation. And so I'm not looking to change my behavior. I'm just looking to change what things I supplement in that behavior. So the best part of this program, I have to say, is that I can eat before I go to bed.
Right?
Because, before it was like, oh no, we're having dinner at like 5:36. No. Even though you're supposed to eat at that time, I was so afraid because I knew that by 9 or 10 o'clock, I'm so hungry. And it's like, what do I do? Because you're not supposed to eat after 8 o'clock.
That's what they say. That's what they all say.
And so now it's a treat that I'm able to, if I do binge watch something, that if my sons are having ice cream, I'll take a scoop of protein, I'll cut up some fruit, I'll put a little bit of almond butter, mix it around, put it in the microwave, and then I just have like a hot pudding while they're sitting stuffing their mugs with Ben and Jerry's.
I love it.
And it's guilt-free and it tastes good.
Yep. Yep.
And I'm eating my shake
Yep.
because
Yep.
I'm chewing. Because sometimes you have to chew.
Sometimes you do have to chew. I totally agree with that. And so I love that. And the last thing that I just want to kind of share is how busy you are. You are a full working mom outside of the home, full-time mom on top of it all. You own a real estate business. I mean, honestly, you guys, Lauren is crazy, crazy busy. And I think in real estate, especially, it's like at any given moment, you're up, you're out, you're doing whatever it is. And yet this is like, in so many ways, you didn't eat all day because like your day was crazy and now you're eating all day. And even though your days aren't less crazy, but you're doing it. How are you doing?
So for today for lunch was a tuna pocket. It was a thing of the mashed avocado, and I had an apple.
How long did it take you to put that in your bag?
2 seconds, and then I keep a protein shake mix in my drawer, and I do a powder nut butter.
Yeah.
And I, have like some kind of fruit that I bring with me, and I just throw in the bag. And so right there, if I'm here later, that's another meal that I know that I have. And it's just, it was easy. It's just,
and that's the thing, like every meal doesn't have to be Christmas dinner, right? It doesn't have to be a holiday kind of extravaganza. Sometimes you're eating just quick grab and go meals just to fuel yourself. And then I often cook a really nice dinner at night, still knowing it's PFC balanced and super yummy, but so easy. I'm so proud of you.
It's so easy. Thank you. Well, I'm so happy that you just have been diligent and letting me know that I wasn't getting it quite right. But what's so great about you is that you accept people at all levels and you allow everyone their own process. And so you're where you are 6 to 7 years later, but you understand that everybody has a different process with where they are.
Yeah.
I grew up with a mother that had an eating disorder. And so, my mother would be on these yo-yo diets. And so, so for me, it was like weight has always been this important thing that was like, if you're a little bit heavier, then you know what, you're just not going to be a happy person.
Yeah. Your value is
value was just weight. Exactly. It was defined in weight. And now for me, it's not even about weight anymore. It's about how I feel. And so, because you get to a certain point in your life where you're hoping that you can fill those other voids so that that's not so important.
Yeah.
But it's the feeling, it's the brain being cleared. It's an indescribable feeling of how you feel when you don't realize that there's fog there until it dissipates.
Yeah, that is such a good analogy. I always talk about confidence and how confidence doesn't come because you've met your goals. Confidence comes with what you know you're doing is right. And just a few weeks in, you're like clear. Like, I know that what I'm doing is right. And then there goes your confidence. You don't have to have met your goal yet to be confident. Would you agree?
No, I feel like your brain tells you when you're hitting your sweet spot.
Yes.
So when you're talking about, yesterday, I think we briefly had talked about, where I said, oh, I feel like I'm a few pounds off, and you're like, what the scale? And I was like, no. It's, I know by my rings, I know my bra, I know yes, I do weigh myself because I'm programmed that way.
We're still working on that. We're working on that. I mean, look how much progress we've made in a few weeks. We're okay.
A few weeks. So it's like, you know what? I'm not ready to throw it out the window, but that's not my only gauge, because you know what? Muscle, I don't mind having weight as long as it's in the right proportion.
Well, and that for you, exactly what you were talking about around your energy, around it being that time of the month, and you're not like a crabby wench.
Or I'm usually up 5 pounds.
Yeah.
I've been up 5 pounds for consistently a couple of years every time it's that time. And I'm actually a little bit bloated, but not nearly. I mean, you can't even.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just no words, no
Yeah.
words.
So I love that your body tells you right away when you start doing right by it. And that I always say when you get to your optimal health, you get to your optimal weight. And truly, I always say that there's a place for people where, regardless, wherever they are in your journey, there's a place for you. I will say though, part of me gets like inside because I know how good this works for people. And the sooner you do it, the better. Like I always like, don't you wish you knew this in your 30s? But we all have to get around the mountain, and we have to go around the mountain enough times before we're really willing to say, okay, I am done. This is it. Because I really want this to be the last nutritional advice people will ever need, the last first date with a nutritional program. And you got to be ready for that. You can't be in the market for wanting to still date around.
Yeah, I think that, it takes a certain person to get to the point where they're just done
Mm-hmm.
fighting with themselves, because some people just aren't ready for that.
Yep.
They're
Yep.
not ready. Just like in therapy,
Yep.
you can put someone in therapy and they get nothing out of it, but when all of a sudden they're ready and they see that person, they could have said the same exact thing, but until you're ready to receive.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a difference between showing up and there's a difference between engaging.
100%. And I believe that we need to be in enough pain to recognize the pleasure. It's almost like, you have to have gone through what you've gone through to appreciate it. Like I look at my infertility story and how hard it was for me to be a mom for so long. So as much as my teenage girls might drive me a little crazy sometimes, I'm so appreciative of it. The turmoil that I went through as somebody with an eating disorder and as somebody that really just struggled with her self-worth and knowing what to eat, I'm appreciative of that time now, because if I hadn't had that, I never would have sought the answers the way I did. And I think the same is true for you.
Yeah, it's been a frustrating journey, to say the least, because eliminating dairy, I was willing to go. I was willing to go there.
Mhm.
It just wasn't working, and it was frustrating because it's like banging your head on the table. It's like, okay, so why can some people do it and some people can't? Like, what is it that they have that I don't? And I don't understand.
Yeah. And I was actually going for a walk earlier, and I just started thinking about the fact that the concept really is around this cultural understanding of the diet mentality. We have literally been brought up to believe calories in, calories out, deprivation, beauty hurts. You have to deprive yourself in order to be skinny. And that when you are skinny, you will be happy. And there's a lot of undoing of generational belief around that we don't even always realize we have. So when somebody comes around that kind of tells you something different, when you've been hearing the same thing for 40 some odd years, it's hard to believe that.
And it's interesting because I've never eaten this much food before. It's so much food.
So good.
It's so much
Finally.
food. I remember the first week I thought, gosh, how is there any way that I'm going to shed any weight eating all of this food? I'm supposed to be hungry. I'm supposed to be miserable. I'm supposed to be dreading this process, and I'm not. So if I'm not, because I'm programmed that if it's going to work,
It's
or if
got
it
to
should
hurt.
work, that it should hurt. And I'm thinking, this feels so good. How can it be right?
It's like a marriage. It's like when you finally meet the one and you have your last first date. And why do we think that we don't deserve that same level of excitement and happiness with our own bodies as we do with that prospective spouse? Come on.
I know. So this has just been an amazing journey, and I'm so happy to do it with you.
Yay.
And you've been just an amazing. You're a great leader, a great teacher, and this is going to be a great ride. And I'm certainly not getting off of it anytime soon. That's for sure. And I'm just looking forward to being able to have my kids see what I'm doing and then naturally evolve into the style, since they're athletes and they're watching what I'm doing. And I'm just sort of slowly, you're like, oh, that's not the right balance. Oh, what do
Yep.
you know, mom? Okay, we'll see. When I
Yep.
get there, you go, oh, wow, mom. Wow,
Yep.
how old are you? You
Yep.
look great. Like, this is what you've been doing? Okay, share with me.
Yes. And you're putting
So,
your oxygen mask on first, and then slowly it's that permeation, right? It's like what I've been doing with you for all this time. Eventually people will get there. I'm still doing it with my own kids. So like
so
it's
this
still
has
a
been,
process.
yeah, so this has been great. So,
Well,
yeah,
Lauren, thank you for joining us. I know taking time out of your busy day is hard, but I just feel like you have a message that so many women need to hear. That message of hope, that message of understanding that the way we've been living does not need to continue to be that way. And so I would love for people to just share their love, tell Lauren what you're getting out of this so that she can know that the time she spent today was well worth it because she inspired you. Thank you, Lauren. Love you, girl.
love you too. And so, a last few words, I say that if you're in a place where you just have had enough, surrender,
I love it.
let it go, and
Yep.
just enjoy the ride.
Trust the process, right? We don't speak with this much confidence if we didn't really believe it would work for you.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't be on a Zoom if if I didn't feel this strongly about it. That's
I totally agree. I totally agree. Well, Lauren,
yeah.
thank you so much. We will be checking in with you and make sure you're
All
still.
right. Thank you.